In a quaint village shadowed by ancient forest and whispered legends, lived a woman named Isabella. Known to many as a charming siren, she wielded her beauty like a weapon, dancing dangerously on the edges of desire and despair. Her reputation, a swirling storm of scandal and fascination, whispered through the market squares and dark taverns alike. A woman of unrestrained passions, a seductress who left broken hearts and shattered trust in her wake. Yet, beneath the glittering veneer of temptation, Isabella harbored a secret yearning, a desperate wish to escape the tangled web of her own making. The nights of reckless indulgence had grown cold, the fleeting thrills now felt hollow, leaving her hollow and haunted. Dreams of redemption flickered like fragile flames in the recesses of her restless soul. One dawn, cloaked in the mist of regret, Isabella vanished from the village. She sought refuge within the austere walls of a distant monastery, hoping that the stillness of stone and prayer might cleanse her troubled heart. The convent was a sanctuary of silence and shadows, where whispered chants wove through the corridors like delicate spider webs, and candles burned with sacred flames that danced eternally. But the quietude she longed for only deepened her torment. The cold austerity of the cloister could not drown the tempest within. The sisters' solemn faces echoed her own reflection, a prisoner of desire chained to her past. The prayers and fasting tested her resolve, but the craving, the insatiable hunger for a life touched by passion, refused to be silent. Isabella's mind twisted like a labyrinth, weaving fantasies darker than the shadows themselves. An obsessive fire kindled, turning her from penitent to predator. When the monastery's leadership sensed the storm brewing behind her serene mask, it was already too late. Isabella's charm was a snare, and she ensnared the whole convent's guidance, an elegant dance of manipulation and madness that left them bewitched and broken. Her influence spiraled beyond piety into peril. One stormy night, beneath the cloak of thunder and rain, Isabella fled, leaving shattered vows and whispered curses in her wake. She returned to the world outside, a whirlwind of temptation, sin, and relentless desire. It wasn't long before she married a man of standing, warm, and unsuspecting. But Isabella, a siren never silenced, soon cast her gaze upon forbidden shores. Her betrayal was deadly and precise. She entangled herself first with her husband's brother, their secret meetings laced with stolen kisses and stolen moments. Yet even this dark liaison could not satisfy her craving for power and passion. In a final act of reckless abandon, she set her sights on the patriarch of the family, the very man who had given her a name and a place. The flames of her desire consumed boundaries, morals, and flesh alike. Her story became legend, a tale of beauty and betrayal, of sin and savage vulnerability. Could such a woman ever find peace? Or was she destined to forever dance on the knife's edge of ruin and rapture? Isabella's life after the monastery was a tempest, a swirling storm of passion and destruction that left everyone in its path trembling. Her laughter, once light and enchanting, now held a sharpened edge, both a weapon and a mask for the chaos raging within. She moved through the gilded halls of her new world with the grace of a panther, smooth and deadly. Her husband, Thomas, was kind but dull, a solid rock amid turbulent seas. He loved her with a quiet devotion that seemed to mock the fire burning inside her. Isabella treated his affection like a golden cage, beautiful but confining. The mundane predictability of marriage was suffocating, and her spirit, untamed and wild, rejected it vehemently. It was not long before she found herself entangled with Daniel, Thomas's younger brother. His youthful vigor and rebellious fire mirrored her own desperation for something more. They met in secret, beneath moonlit skies or behind locked doors heavy with whispered promises and hungry touches. Every stolen moment was a spark that fed the inferno inside her, brighter and hotter than before. Yet even Daniel's passion could not quell the restless beast within Isabella. Her desires grew darker, more dangerous. It was as if each act of betrayal fueled her insatiable hunger for control and excitement. The great house where Isabella lived began to crumble beneath the weight of secrets and lies, even as it stood proud and majestic to the outside world. The final and most devastating chapter of her twisted story unfolded with shocking audacity. The patriarch of the family, her husband's own father, a man of power, respect, and ruthless will, fell prey to her seductive charm. Perhaps it was her manipulation, her enchanting gaze, or the eerie brilliance that seemed to radiate from her like a dark star. Whatever the reason, the old man was ensnared. Their affair was a poisonous dance of dominance and submission, each feeding off the other's weaknesses and lusts. Isabella's betrayal was complete. She had shattered not just one bond, but the entire family's foundation, weaving chaos that would take years to mend, if at all. The whispers began immediately. The villagers and distant relatives spoke of the siren who devoured a family whole. Journals, letters, and hushed conversations painted her as a figure of ruin and fascination. Some claimed she was cursed, others called her a fallen angel. But none could deny the truth written in the shattered lives she left behind. And yet, through all the darkness and despair, Isabella remained enigmatically alive, invincible in her quest for passion, forever dancing on the razor's edge between salvation and damnation. With the family shattered and whispers echoing through every corner of the village, Isabella's notoriety grew alongside her own dark sense of invincibility. Yet beneath her fiery veneer, the fragile woman who once sought escape in the monastery was still buried deep inside, her soul a tangle of regret and desire, craving peace, but too wild to grasp it. Days turned into months, and months into years, but Isabella never found sanctuary in any arms. Her marriages and affairs melted away like shadows at dawn, leaving behind only scars and shattered dreams. The brilliance she wielded like a sword became a curse, a beacon that drew both admiration and wrath. Her restless spirit drove her to roam from place to place, never staying long enough to heal, never allowing anyone to truly know her. She was a living paradox, a sinner seeking salvation through chaos, a prisoner fleeing from herself. One evening, under a sky painted with bruised purples and fiery reds, Isabella stood alone on a cliff's edge where the wind tore at her cloak like the wild wings of a fallen angel. The roaring sea below mirrored the storm within her, vast and untamable, threatening to consume all that dared approach. Would she surrender to the darkness, or carve a new path from the ruin of her past? No one could say, for Isabella was forever a woman woven from contradictions, a tale of lust and repentance, of destruction and resilience, destined to haunt the hearts of those who knew her story. Despite the chaos she had sown, Isabella remained a captivating enigma, a living legend whispered about in hushed tones by those who dared to speak her name. Her beauty had not faded with time. It had deepened, shaped by the firestorm of her passions and regrets. Her eyes, once filled with playful mischief, now bore the weight of secrets too heavy for any soul to carry alone. The Broke family attempted to rebuild, but the fractures she had inflicted were not so easily healed. Thomas, her first husband, withdrew into silence, his heart bruised, but still beating with a fragile hope. Daniel, the brother who had once shared stolen kisses with her, drifted away like a ghost haunted by shadows of betrayal. And the patriarch, once proud and commanding, faded into a quiet melancholy, his authority forever tarnished. Isabella's restless mind often drifted back to the austere walls of the monastery. She had sought peace there, but found only confinement. There was no salvation for a woman like her in quiet prayers or cold stone. Freedom to her meant embracing the wild tempest inside, no matter how destructive. She frequented taverns and meadows alike, always chasing a phantom of satisfaction that never came. Each affair, each night's dalliance, was another desperate grasp for meaning, for connection, for a way to silence the turmoil within. Yet, even with all her defiance, a lonely sorrow clung to her like a second skin. In the quiet moments before dawn, when the world held its breath, Isabella wondered if redemption was ever truly possible. Was she doomed to be a wandering spirit, forever dancing on the edge of ruin? The answer, like her story, remained shrouded in mystery, a haunting melody in the night that no one dared to forget. As years passed, Isabella's fiery existence began to ebb, worn down not by others, but by the relentless passage of time and the weight of her own choices. The wild spirit that once burned so fiercely now flickered with exhaustion, the edges softened by countless nights of quiet reflection and unbearable loneliness. One winter's evening, beneath a sky swirling with snowflakes like frozen tears, Isabella found herself standing before the door of a humble chapel. Its wooden frame was weathered, the paint peeling, but a faint light glowed within, a beacon of hope in the cold darkness. The very thing she had once fled, she now sought again, not for solace in prayers, but perhaps for a place to face the ghosts that haunted her. Inside, the chapel smelled of candle wax and old stone. Her reflection flickered in the polished altar rails, a woman marked by scars both seen and unseen. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of her story. The betrayals, the madness, the relentless pursuit of a peace she could never grasp. She knelt, not in prayer for forgiveness, but in a quiet surrender to the truth she had long denied. The tempest within settled, like a gale finally fading to a gentle breeze. In that moment, Isabella understood some souls cannot be purified by holy walls or pious rituals. Redemption was not a destination, but a journey, a path she could choose to walk, step by uncertain step. Isabella left the chapel that night, transformed not by miracles, but by acceptance. She returned to the world not as the tempestuous siren who had shattered lives, but as a woman who carried her scars like worn badges of survival. Her story remained etched in the memories of those she had touched, both the broken and the bewildered. Some cursed her, others pitied her, but none could deny the undeniable truth of her fierce humanity. She embraced the complexity of her existence. The beauty and the darkness intertwined like twin shadows. And while the past would forever ripple beneath the surface of her soul, Isabella chose to step forward, her steps no longer chaotic storms, but measured, intentional. She lived without illusions, without seeking to rewrite history, only seeking peace in the imperfect, wild terrain of her own heart. The story of Isabella The woman who wanted to change but was shaped by her desires and demons became a whispered legend, not a cautionary tale, nor a hymn of redemption, but a raw, unvarnished truth about the human condition. That some lives are a fierce dance on the edge of ruin and rapture, and maybe, just maybe, that dance is where true existence lies. Years later, Isabella lived quietly in a small cottage nestled at the edge of a tranquil forest. The wild passions of her youth had softened into a gentle wisdom that shimmered in her eyes like morning dew. She spent her days tending a modest garden, nurturing life rather than destruction, each bloom a fragile testament to her hard-won peace. The villagers who once whispered legends about her now greeted her with respectful nods, sensing the quiet strength beneath her calm exterior. Though her past was never forgotten, it no longer defined her. Isabella often walked along the winding paths where sunlight filtered through the trees, reflecting on the tumultuous journey that had shaped her. In the stillness, she recognized that forgiveness, most importantly, self-forgiveness, was the true sanctuary she had sought all along, and so, beneath the vast sky and ever-changing seasons, Isabella found what she had chased her whole life: a fragile, imperfect redemption and the courage to begin anew each day